Am I? Now I am. Good afternoon. Welcome to Progressive Soup. My name is David Stevenson. I have with me still Mike Toohey and Joe Niola, and we're talking post-convention. We've done our pivot now to the general election, and what we're doing is we're talking about two third-party candidates, and two particular third parties being the Green Party and the Libertarian Party. And we've noted that the Libertarian Party will be on the ballot in all 50 states. That's been settled. And the Green Party at this point is on 24 state ballots and in progress to get in on the other 26 states in the District of Columbia. Now, Exhibit A, these are, I can't show the signatures because of privacy, but these are ballots, these are petitions to get the Green Party candidate and Jill Stein, their presidential candidate, on the ballot in Connecticut, and we're about there. So, and this is in progress in all the other states where the Green Party has not yet reached the threshold of petition signatures to get on the ballot.
I don't know if he can get a close-up on this, but this is the ballot access for the Green Party. The dark green.
Lower it, Mike.
Lower it?
Yeah.
The dark green is the states where they're already in, which is 24. The light green are the states where potentially, if they reach the amount of signatures, and the three yellow states are the states where it's write-in only, essentially.
Hold it right there, Mike.
Yes, those three yellow states, I believe, you have to be essentially years in advance to get on, or a huge amount of time in advance to actually get on the ballot. So you're in those three states, Oklahoma, Indiana, and North Carolina, you're limited to a write-in candidate vote for the Green Party candidate. But having said that, we're making progress, and some pretty good progress, and a lot of that with the Green Party has evolved out of the Bernie Sanders campaign. Now, we know that Bernie Sanders has done as he said he would do. He's endorsed Hillary Clinton as the party candidate for president.
Which surprised a lot of, well, I want to say surprised a lot of people, but it angered a lot of his supporters.
But he said he was going to do that, so I don't understand why people would be upset by that.
Well, I think it was, and I talked to you before about this, I think it was if, like, Ron Paul endorsed Trump. Like, a lot of people see Ron Paul as kind of the standard bearer for the Libertarian Party in the last maybe 20 or 30 years.
Yes.
If he came out and said, I love Trump, I endorse Trump, they would see that as kind of a negation of everything he's talked about before. So I think people were looking at it as, okay, he's spent, however many months, not so much bashing Clinton, but talking about all the negative things that Clinton will do or has done.
Yep.
And now he's endorsing her just specifically, like we were talking about last week, to get her in so she's the lesser of two evils.
Yep, and I think that's...
and I think that's why a lot of people were booing her, and they booed during, I think it was the invocation, where I forget the woman's name, but she was doing like a prayer, and she talked about Hillary Clinton and just got roundly booed. So...
Well, there's a lot of anger, to go around on both sides of the both conventions. And you know that Donald Trump is not very popular amongst a very large group of Republican voters, and likewise Hillary Clinton.
But he's going to make America great again.
Yeah, so at least he's going to make a cap in some foreign country that says that.
Which stands to reason that he thinks that America isn't great now, that he's going to make it great again.
Yeah, and here's I'm gonna throw an ad hoc shout out to my good friend Marty Heiser to join us.
Who actually was at the Republican National Convention.
Yeah, and he's very much the Trump supporter now. Although we
did a show between the three of us.
He's very much the Trump supporter. Even though I'm of the mind, also being a devout Christian along with Marty, that you can't be a devout Christian and be a Trump supporter at the same time. It pretty much runs counterintuitive. But we'll have to have Marty on in one of these shows and talk about when exactly in America's history that the country was great.
Did you see the? I think it was Pastor.
The time he wants to take us back to, apparently.
Did you see the clip? I think it was Pastor something Jeffries, where he was saying he would vote for Trump over Jesus.
Okay.
Where basically he was like, you can look it up on YouTube, but he was basically saying that the Sermon on the Mount is not a political statement, and that if he was going to find a candidate that would espouse that, he would run from them because he wants a strong man in office, someone that's going to tackle ISIS and just destroy ISIS. So he's not looking for a Jesus candidate, he's looking for a Trump candidate.
Interesting. Well, I guess...
But that's also after he's talked numerous times about how we need more Christianity in government, how this is a Christian nation, and et cetera, et cetera. But now he wants Trump over Jesus, apparently.
Well, there's a lot of contradictions, but the one character that seems to be able to articulate his position and at the same time not compromise himself, who's also involved with religion, is Professor Cornel West.
Cornel West, yep.
Now, Cornel West, he was disrespected by the Democratic National Committee, as the emails have indicated, that was somehow or other hacked. His position is Bernie was the man. Bernie's still a good man, but he feels that he could carry the political revolution on inside the Democratic camp. Jill Stein feels that how can you expect to succeed in a political revolution when you're in the camp of a counter-revolution system? Well, Cornel...
It's a good philosophical question.
He's convinced that there's no need to compromise. There's no need to do what Bernie Sanders and Robert Reich strongly feel the Bernie Sanders supporters should do, is throw their allegiance to Hillary. Cornel and Chris Hedges, they feel that you're not going to get to first base if you do, because the system is already controlled. You're just simply allowing yourself to be manipulated.
The question of whether you can work within the system or whether you have to go outside the system in order to change the system.
Well, you tried working in the system, and it's been revealed to you that, number one, it's rigged, it's corrupt, it's against you, and this whole business about the emails.
And we still almost won, by the way.
You know what the media is talking about? The media is talking about whether or not the Russians hacked. I mean, who cares? All right, if the Russians hacked it, if the Puerto Ricans hacked it, if the Muslims hacked it, if the Italians hacked it, if the Polish hacked it, who cares? The fact of the matter is, it wouldn't have gotten hacked if the proper security system was put into place.
It ignores the crime and focuses on the person that blew the whistle on the crime.
Okay. Now the crime is, what was in those? What were the emails? Well, the emails show that there was a crime, but they're not going to talk about that. Okay, and the things that go on. Another thing that I couldn't believe it. I know right now the media feels that they made enough money off of Trump. Okay, maybe they feel. No. And this I think this is appalling. They managed to find these suggestive photographs of his wife before they were married, and I think it was the Post. They got put in the news, and this is news now. Buy the Post and take a look at these pictures now, folks. All right, what kind of respect do they have for the American citizenry? All right.
What was it during one of the Republican, not primaries, one of the Republican debates? Ted Cruz said something about Donald Trump's small hands, and then Donald Trump indicated, well, he's got a big something. So in one of the Republican debates...
I guess we could say schlong on television.
We had to talk about Donald Trump's member. Let's put it that way. That's how far we've gone down the rabbit hole, basically.
But see, that's what happened. When the media has determined that they can captivate and capture the American audience simply by catering to their coarser instincts, their baser nature, they'll do it. They don't care
Well,
as long as they're going to get paid.
Maybe the question is, has media coverage on all the networks, Fox, CNN, the rest of them, has that become a reality television show?
Well, that's how I think Donald Trump won. He played it like it was a reality show.
Does this play? Are they just adjusting their news broadcasts to reflect the tastes of what works on reality television?
They would exploit the sons and daughters of the American citizens, all right, to the extent that I won't even describe, for the purposes of money. There's no moral imperative. There's no line that they draw. They will push it as far as they can in the interest of money. And if it backfires on them, they'll lie. That whole business about the emails, getting back to that again. The Russians probably hacked it, and what the Russians did was they changed the message around. Okay, they did not. They're not giving you what they actually hacked. Okay, they're giving you some information that is untrue. So
then, why did Debbie Wasserman Schultz step down? If it was untrue.
Well, because it was true. We know that.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying.
We know it was true.
Okay.
We know it was vile and despicable.
But I'm just giving you another twist that I heard. You know, this option.
Trying to manipulate.
Why would Debbie step down?
The way we look at whoever released the hacks, the hacked emails, as them being the criminals rather than the people that actually wrote the emails.
Debbie is going to be stepping down on the one hand, but Hillary still has Debbie in mind when her campaign gets underway.
Has she stepped down now, or is she stepping down sometime in the
post-convention? Because she's got a campaign to run and apparently has a very strong opponent, Tim Canova, in her own district. And Schultz is Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Is very well liked in her district, but what the focus of Tim Canova's campaign will be is to talk about the fact that she's a big proponent of payday loans. She works very hard,
Debbie Wasserman Schultz,
for the payday loan industry that rips off a lot of folks with incredible interest rates.
There's some I've seen that were like 4-digit interest rates.
Yeah, you pay. It's
you
like
can get anywhere from like 600% to 700% to like almost 1,000% interest.
It's like it's very similar to. It's very similar to what.
It's like loan sharks. I mean, I was reading a story about a guy, I think it was in Missouri, who in 5 years paid $50,000 in interest on a $2,500 payday loan.
Yeah. And when we get our friends back from the Puerto Rican group that we've had on the show quite often, we'll talk about what's going on in Puerto Rico, because it's essentially what happened in Puerto Rico is they were loaned a small amount of money with deferred payments, and it ended up being essentially a payday loan to Puerto Rico, and they're stuck for a huge tab. And what's come out of this is that corporate heads have become the standing government of Puerto Rico. The government is no more. You have a group of, you have a junta of corporate heads that are running the country, and they have no government anymore, essentially, other than this junta.
Well, we're talking about things like usury. I mean, these things were against the law at one time. The finance companies could charge a little bit more than the banks, but there was a limit.
Let's shift away from Debbie Wasserman Schultz and payday loans and all that stuff for a moment, and let's go back to the two candidates we're talking about. And quick shout out: we have been collecting signatures for the Green Party in Connecticut, and looks like the Green Party's very likely to be on the ballot.
Give them the deadline.
Oh, in Connecticut, it's by the time the show airs, the deadline. It's August 10th for the signatures to be notarized and sent to Hartford, and then they send them out to the towns to confirm that the people that have signed are actually registered voters in their town. So and this is likely to happen, I think, in essentially every state, other than 3 that has just incredible objections and incredible hurdles that you have to go through to get on the ballot. as a presidential candidate. It's months and months and months in advance that you have to.
Are those Republican-leaning states?
But that's
North Carolina is. I don't know about the other two.
I don't think that's really the point, but you're right. It is. In fact, yes. But so we have our two candidates that we're talking about. We have Jill Stein for the Green Party. We have Gary Johnson, the Libertarian candidate. And Mike, in the first show, was talking a little bit about the Libertarian Party and the different factions within the Libertarian Party. But the winning faction in the convention was one which I see as being the better group amongst the more true libertarians. That's to say, they believe in limited government, but they believe in government not being able to rule people's lives and not interfere in people's lives, as evidenced by the fact that Gary Johnson is extremely pro-choice. He doesn't believe that the government should have the right to interfere in the lives of women in making their own personal health care decisions. So
there are many, just to kind of sidetrack, but not sidetrack, but there are many libertarians who are anti-abortion but pro-choice.
That's
and I think that's what you were saying. Like, I personally don't believe in abortion.
Correct.
But I am not going to force my belief in that on someone else.
That is the true libertarian view on abortion and on choice, and I'm with you on that. Matter of fact, there are a lot of Democrats
that the Green Party feels the same way.
Yeah, and a lot of Democrats are the same way. There was a group at the convention that Democrats they call themselves Democrats for Life, and they're pro. They believe that a woman should carry a child to term and bear the child, but they do not believe that the federal government should step in and force them to do that.
But now we're seeing more and more states positioning the federal government to make abortion illegal. And there was I forget who was talking to Donald Trump, but he said, should abortion be illegal? And Donald Trump said yes. And he said, okay, well, what should the penalty be? And he goes, I don't know.
Yeah, he took the easy answer, and he didn't have any complexity.
And no one seems to know what the penalty should be for abortion.
Yeah.
Because people will call it murder, they'll call it anything else. So if it's murder, then we should be locking all of these women up and everything else.
That's what they believe, yeah.
Well, you know, what Donald Trump says or doesn't say is really not something that we should...
Well, he's said numerous times he's going to learn on the job. He's said a couple times that there were parts of the job he doesn't want to do and feels that he shouldn't have to do, so that he's going to lean on his vice presidential candidate, Mike Pierce, to to do most of the jobs that he doesn't want to do.
All right. And Trump will just take care of the global objective.
He was
global objective. I know where we're at.
John Kasich has come out and said that he was talked to by a Trump aide that if he wanted to be the vice presidential candidate for foreign and domestic policy.
Yeah.
And then he said, well, what would Donald Trump be in charge of? And the answer was making America great again.
Exactly. That overarching theme.
So he controls foreign and domestic policy. Donald Trump is off, coloring books over there, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's government by delegation.
Okay, let me step back. Let me step back and let's bring us back to the candidates that we're here to talk about. Not Trump, not Clinton.
And I would like to point out,
Gary Johnson and Jill Stein.
Of all the candidates out there, Gary Johnson has balanced the budget in his state of New Mexico. He sent back, I think, twice the budget that was put forth to him when he was the governor, because it wasn't balanced until they balanced it. So he's the only candidate, I think, of any of them that have ran that have actually balanced a state budget.
Yeah, in Connecticut, you have to by statute.
I don't know whether or not...
But it's only because you have to that we do.
I don't know whether or not Gary Johnson has any PAC money hanging over his head. I know that Jill Stein doesn't. All right, so that's one thing in her favor. If she doesn't have this PAC money hanging up over her head...
Well, they're not going to get corporate money, either one of them.
Okay, so that simply means that they can be beholden to the American people and not necessarily to the money, to the oligarchy and the sons of the oligarchy. So right off the bat, when you know that the system is the entire system is bought, All right. If you have a candidate without that money hanging over his or her head, that's a candidate that could possibly be operating in the interest of the people. Unfortunately, the money to become elected has to come from the people, and it can't come from the people unless they know these candidates. And that's the job of the media. The media is supposed to be the watchdog for the American people. The media is supposed to be above the money. The media is supposed to be interested in giving the facts and information to the American people so they can make intelligent choices. And the media's not doing that anymore.
Well, we've shifted from actual factual news to now opinion news. So now we're more the opinion section of the newspaper than we are the rest of the newspaper.
Yeah, because it's more interesting to people. That's why.
And so therefore you get a candidate like Donald Trump. Hey, listen, I'm not really interested in that part of it. This part of it, I'm going to give to Mike Pence. Okay, and that's okay. And people say, well, sure. What's your opinion? All right. Fact of the matter is, as president, it's your responsibility to be aware of what economic choices have to be made, what choices have to be made in foreign policy, what domestic choices have to be made, what choices have to be considered in the interest of jobs, the American people, families. That's the job of the president. His hair doesn't get white just over age. It gets white because he's supposed to be the man of the people, and all this stuff has to be filtering through his head, and he has to be making intelligent decisions.
On the job 24/7, yeah.
Well, if you watch any of the interviews that Donald Trump has done, they'll ask him a question, okay, do you know this leader? Do you know this leader? Well, yeah, sure, I know him. Okay, well, what do you think about? Oh, well, he's good, or he's bad, or he has no conception of either foreign leaders or the economy or anything, because, like I said before, he's going to learn on the job. He's even said, elect me, I'll learn on the job, which is terrifying, but...
To be that bad, all right, and to be a candidate for the presidency says something very unflattering about the American electorate.
I think that's pretty well spoken and pretty accurate.
I mean,
but then again, there's always hope for people becoming engaged and learning a little something about a decision that they're going to make, which will impact their lives.
In about what, 4 months?
In the next 3 months? Well,
November?
I imagine they probably will, hopefully, learn a little more about the candidates in the next 100 days.
Well, I think if you do believe in an Almighty, if you do believe in God, if you do believe that God is looking after this country, maybe it's time to ask Him for a miracle.
and yet a lot of us believe that God gives us the power to control our own destiny, and the power is in our hands, given to us by the Creator, and that puts the responsibility on us to make good happen, rather than hope for manna from heaven, so to speak.
But that the entire system, all right, from top to bottom, is it's not democratic anymore. It's the will of the money. It's what it is. And Bernie is trapped in it.
Yeah.
He claims that he can fight from the inside. Somehow or other, he can influence congressional elections. He can enlighten people. But when you're in there, these are all the bought ones.
I was going to say Ron Paul was the same way, and he was he fought for 20-something years and never changed his positions, but was still fighting tooth and nail to get either libertarians elected or getting more reasonably minded Republicans elected. And he, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, ended up retiring just because he was done with everything.
He was embarrassed by a charlatan.
Yeah.
And that whole Republican field, as pathetic as most of them were, there should have come out of that field a candidate other than Donald Trump.
Well,
that didn't happen.
Well, the problem was Donald Trump, if for nothing else, is a hell of a showman. He comes in, steals the show, takes all the oxygen out of the room, says or does something stupid, The media latches onto that, focuses on that, then asks all the other candidates what they think about what Donald Trump just did, rather than asking them about their policies. So they're forced to talk about Donald Trump. Then by the time that is all calmed down, he said 15 other things that were stupid, and then the whole process starts over again. So as you said in the last show, all the free media goes to Donald Trump or to talking about Donald Trump, and then nobody else gets a word in edgewise.
And if you're going to give someone a word edgewise, you're forcing them into taking an attack position against a member of your own party. And so that was the smart thing that Bernie was able to do, was he was able to refrain from personal attacks against Hillary.
Which didn't save him from getting personally attacked. But.
Well, yeah.
But it was, he took the high road, and I think that is why he did so well, because he managed to maintain the upper hand morally, and
Hillary Clinton
speak to his issues.
Hillary Clinton has come out repeatedly and said she will have a more robust and hawkish foreign policy than Barack Obama or Bernie Sanders.
Well, I don't know, because that's part of the feminist agenda that she has to prove to the males in the society that she's capable of being authoritarian.
To show how tough she can be.
Just how tough she can be. Whereas it's not necessary. You don't have to do that. If you really have the intellect, the fortitude, the courage, the intelligence, you don't need attitude. So
could have had Elizabeth Warren, couldn't we have?
We could have had
Elizabeth. If she had run.
Elizabeth is a lot like Bernie. She wants to stay within that Democratic camp. She wants to stay in the Democratic Party, which is a counter political revolutionary establishment, and attempt to somehow or other turn it around. And we may not have time for that. We may not have time to wait another 4 years or another 8 years. Maybe it's time to just take a stand and not be intimidated with it.
I'm not hearing violent revolution coming out of your mouth, am I?
No, you're not here. Revolt against.
Or are we doing a Gandhi, which was much more effective?
The scare tactic.
Yeah.
If you don't vote Hillary, you get Trump.
Right.
If you don't vote Trump, you get Hillary. Both of them playing the same card. Forget about it.
Okay.
Vote your conscience.
I'd like to point one thing out before we get out. If you're interested in the Libertarian Party of Connecticut, go to lpct.org, and all the links and information will be right there. And if you're interested in the Connecticut Green Party, that is ctgreenparty.org.
ctgreenparty.org and
lpct.org.
And with that, we'll be back next week. We're going to continue the discussion about our alternate candidates. Thanks for joining us. David Stevenson, Mike Tui.
Thanks.